Hello and welcome, intermediate students, to another intermediate lesson at learnpianolive.com. This is an intermediate lesson, so the assumption is that you can probably play a couple songs at least well enough to impress a couple friends. You might have some basic understanding of music theory or something, but you really haven't had any formal training. So if that's you, you're in the right place. If you feel, throughout this lesson like it's way too advanced, you might want to go back and check out yesterday's lesson. It's in the archives, the beginner's version of this lesson. That might answer a lot of your questions, but feel free to ask away, ask any questions. This is about you and me, so you got to ask questions so I know, how to help you best. And there's a couple other things I want to talk to you too about before this countdown clock hits 0. All right, first and most important, ask a lot of questions. The way that you're going to do that is there's a couple different ways. You can jump in the chat room and talk with the other students who are logged in at the same time. I'll be watching the chat room too. You can ask your questions there. Or if it's a question that's just for me, a question about the lesson, especially if you know it's one that's going to fit best at the question and answer time at the end, then you can just put your name and your question in the box below this video, click submit, and then I will get that. Now, if you're already in the archives, if you're watching this not live, but you're watching this in the archives, then make sure at the end of the lesson you click on the survey button. You don't have to fill out the entire survey. If you want to, I'd love your feedback, but really the best part of that is that you can put your question in there, and then when you click submit, then I will get all of your questions. I'll make sure that you get them answered, whether you're in the archives or you're live. Right next to this video, there should be a PDF button and an MP3 button. Now, you don't really need those till after the lesson because I'm going to be showing you on screen the PDF and showing you how to use it. And I'll play the MP3 during the lesson too, so you know at the end of the lesson how you're going to use that. Some people, though, like to print out the PDF ahead of time, so as I'm making notes on my version, they can make the same notes on their version, but works either way. All right, this is perhaps the most important part. You need to leave the lesson when you feel like you're sufficiently challenged. So, I'm teaching these lessons, 12 to 15 lessons a month. Normally in traditional lessons, you're getting like a lesson every other week or so. So this is just way too much for you to take in. So, the goal is for you to get some little nugget of something that you can really practice on, really work on. Once you feel like you have that, then you really don't need anything else from me. Go practice. That's where this stuff is really gonna happen. You're not going to get through this lesson and be able to play something really well. You're going to get through this lesson and have the information that you need to practice more effectively. That's really the goal here. So don't feel bad about taking off early. If you feel like halfway through the lesson you got as much as you can take in at that time, then go practice that thing, and then come back whenever you've got that thing down, or you're bored with it, or you just want to check out the next topic. Don't forget also that you've got the archives too. So if you want to see one little thing, just repeat it over and over and over. Just give me, hopefully within 24 hours after the lesson, this thing will be up in the archives, so you can just go back and watch it over and over and over and over and just get that little segment down. All right, today we're doing everybody's favorite topic. Out of the 8 sectors of musicianship, the one that everybody always likes the most is application. That's where you finally actually get to play a song. So if you've been here for the last couple weeks, you'll notice a lot of the same concepts popping up today, because we're going to take those concepts, we're going to apply them to a very specific song. If you haven't been here, don't worry about it. I'll show you how to play all of our little concepts. So hopefully at the end of today's lesson, you'll have all the tools to practice an actual real song that you can play for your friends and impress them. Let's go. Welcome back. Let's talk about the theory of the Beatles song Yesterday. So let me run through the chords and the notes for this real quick, and then we will jump into all of the breaking down of the song. something like that. Let's check out what this thing is made of. Actually, let's zoom out a little bit there. There we go. So yesterday we talked about all of the notes and the chords and all that stuff. We did change the format of this to make it a little bit easier to read, but all of that should be pretty much the same stuff, the chords. Now, a lot of the video links are not inserted yet. That's kind of a new feature that hopefully will be in by, I would like to say tomorrow, but to be safe, I'm going to say by next week or the next time we do a cover of a song, then all those video links should be in there as well. But here's, as promised, all of the numbers for the melody. So we're not going to go through all of that stuff since we talked about it yesterday. But 2 1 1 3 sharp 4 sharp 5 6 7 1 7 6 6. So if you were waiting for that, hopefully that answers the questions that you have, and you're able to figure out what all of that stuff is. And then we, of course, have the sheet music here that, we talked about yesterday. And then we get into the interesting stuff, which is the theory of all of this and how it's all put together. So this is in 4, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So everything happens in sets of 4 versus other songs where it happens in sets of 3 or 6. Like we've had actually somewhat recently. I don't think we've had a 2 yet, or a 5 or a 7. We're not going to run into a 5 or a 7. Pretty sure. Yeah. But we have had a 9 before, and I don't know that we've had a 12. So the 4 is definitely the most common one. So that just means that every 4 beats, something significant happens. It also means that as you're reading through this stuff up here, there we go. As you're reading through this stuff up here, each of these boxes represents 4 beats. If we were in a different time signature, then those all those boxes would represent a different number of pulses. So 4 is pretty safe. In fact, for a lot of beginning students, we don't even tell them that there are such other things as boxes that have different beats. We just say each measure is 4 beats, and then we move on, and we don't worry about that until we hit 3, 4 time or something like that, to mention that there are times where a measure would be any less or more than 4 beats. Cool. So then the other thing we are looking at here is the sets of 4. Now, this one has some very interesting shortened phrases that still feel kind of awkward to me, but obviously if you've heard the song enough times, it's not weird to you. Usually things happen in sets of 4. At the very beginning, on most of the covers and most of the recordings that I've heard of the original, there's 2 bars at the beginning. That's not too weird. If you were at the songwriting workshop, then you know that 2 and 4 and 8 are kind of all acceptable lengths for intros. So that's not too weird, but it's not a 4. And then we would expect our verse to be a set of 8 in most cases, but this one is a set of 7. So right here, we would expect something to happen, but it does not. There's just nothing there. So at the beginning of it, 4. That's kind of how we would expect it to go. They do hit this F a little bit early, which helps because they have some resolution to it. It's not just like they leave you hanging at the end of that. But normally we'd expect to see this F over here. So it would be, and it's not going to sound right if you know the song. If you don't know the song, then you're in luck because this is going to make more sense to you. But I believe in yesterday. And then we'd go back into it. So this B flat would last for an entire 4 beats, and then the F would go over here for 4 beats. And that would kind of make, that'd be more predictable for the listener. But they cut that short. And then the chorus is just a regular set of 8. In fact, it's actually just a set of 4 that's repeated because these chords are the exact same as these chords. So that is that's our 8. And it kind of, I don't know, makes up for the fact that we cut the verse short a little bit there. That the chorus part, what we're calling for right now, the chorus, is so predictable that the second half of it just is the exact same thing. And then, of course, the last verse is also cut short, but that is what we would expect. It'd be weird if it was not cut short, since it is the same exact set of chords as this verse up here. So the fact that they play it so many times in the song, and every single time they cut it short the exact same way, makes it more predictable the more that you hear it. So at least it's not different every time. Now, the form of the song is here. This is what we're going to call, for right now, an AABA. Now, this is where we get into like intros and verses and choruses and all that stuff, which we're not going to do for this one. Instead, we're just going to call this an AABA. So what they do is they play the beginning part, yesterday. All that stuff. I don't like that fingering. I got that trailing pinky up there. Anyway, so they got distracted. That thing, I would call that A, since they're going to go back and do the exact same set of chords one more time. So it's kind of like a verse and then a verse and then a chorus and then a verse, except that a verse and then a verse and then a chorus and then a verse, especially when the verses and choruses are under 8 bars each, or 8 or fewer bars each, is definitely a thing called AABA, and we've talked about that in the songwriting workshop a lot. So that's definitely a thing. Now, I believe that the Beatles actually would go back and like do just the B and the A, and then B and the A. So it'd be like AABA, BABA. I could be wrong about that, but just what we have right here, what your play along plays, and what we have written here, what I would consider one time through the song is AABA. Cool. Then melodic patterns and shapes. Now, I'm glad that I made the note here. Okay, let's go back and talk about the chord numbers. So the chord numbers, they use all kinds of different chords, as we mentioned yesterday. There's a lot more chords in this song than in most songs that we're going to run into, which for a lot of people, especially if you are new to songwriting, it means that, well, the Beatles are doing it. The Beatles are awesome. This is a lot of chords, which means that a lot of chords equals awesome, which is not true at all. So this one has a 1 chord in it, a 2 chord, a 4 chord, a 5 chord, a 6 chord, a major 3, and a major 2, and some suspensions in there. That's a lot of different chords. So if you're writing a song right now, yesterday is, man, well, I'm trying to say, don't do this. This is a terrible, terrible idea. If you're like, oh, yesterday, that's beautiful, and it has a lot of chords, there must be some correlation there. There is not. There's not. So, yeah. So just keep your songwriting simple, at least for the first, 20 or 30 songs that you write, and then maybe add in a couple of these little variations. Okay, so despite all the fact that the chords are so funky and there's so many different chords in this one, the melody is almost entirely stepwise. We got that to 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 that. Here we jump over 1 note. Ooh, big jump right there. Another jump of 2 notes, jumping over 1 note. So the biggest jump in the whole entire thing jumps over 2, and the vast majority of the song is just stepwise, just playing 1 note and then the next note over. Next note, next note, next note, next note, next note. So again, for those of you who are writing songs or just taking inventory of what people tend to do in these songs, they break all the rules about the chords and junk, but then when it comes to the melody, it's just the next note over. Really, really easy to hear, really pretty, fun to sing along with. That's what stepwise does for you. So don't jump around so much in your songs, you people trying to that was the best melody ever because it had so many jumps. No one could ever sing that. Cool. So stepwise despite funky chords, and then it's got a lot of melodic suspensions. So this is actually something you could experiment with if you're trying to stay stepwise. As long as you're following most of the other rules, then like on the one chord, on that F chord, their very first note is not an F or an A or a C, which is what I've told you to do, is on each chord, then land on the chord tone. But what they do is they land on the chord tone just after they play the chord. So instead of playing suddenly, they play suddenly. So play a non-chord tone and then one over to the chord tone. That one right there, they hit a chord tone right on the chord change. And then this one right here, they're going to go, this would be a chord tone right here. So it should be, not should be, but it would normally be. But instead they go. Now if they would have just stayed there, would have sounded horrible, but they resolve that by playing that. Same thing right there. If they would have stayed there, it would have sounded terrible, but they would go to a chord tone. And then same thing right here. That sounds terrible. That sounds beautiful. And the rest of them are actually chord tones. So maybe experiment with some of that instead of just landing right on a chord tone. Go to the note right next to that note first, a non-chord tone, and then resolve into it. So in their melody, they have lots of suspensions. Now, this song only has 10 notes in it. That's kind of our range right there, from that D up to that F, which is definitely on the high part of normal, high range of normal. So you can see for a dude to sing this, they're going to be getting in above where is safe for most male vocalists. A lot of people can sing up there. It's just barely outside of the normal range. If I was going to like write this for like people to sing along with in a concert or something like that, then I might move it down from the key of F to like the key of D or something, so that we were going from like this note to that note, and that range was a little bit more singable. But it's just barely outside of the range, which makes it a little bit more intense. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. And then just as you're covering this, the arrangement for this in the rhythm should be, in most cases, 1 down and then 3 up. So on guitar, you'll notice they have that kind of a feel. That kind of thing. So anyway, just note that if you're not going to do that, don't do that on purpose, but kind of maybe start with that and then see where it goes from there. And I believe that is the end of the breakdown. Tomorrow we'll be talking about optional chords and stuff, but that's all the most significant parts of the song, how it's put together, why it's put together. So I guess it's time for our wrap up and then your questions, and hopefully some answers that make sense today. So we talked about time signatures and 4/4 time, and how that means that there's 4 beats in each measure, 4 pulses before something important happens again. And usually we have measures in sets of 4. So a verse would be either 4 or 8 or 12 or 16. But in this case, they have a lot of 7 measure phrases, and a lot because they have one of them, and that same exact one gets repeated 3 times in the song because of the A, B, A format. So this one is different, and then those 3 all have 7 measures in them. So they're all the same, which makes that a little bit more predictable. It doesn't sound quite as weird when you do it 3 times in a row. But so there's 2 of the same, and then something different. That's that why she had to go, I don't know, she wouldn't say. That part is the B section. Cool. We talked about the chord numbers and how there are lots of different chords in this song, but that does not mean that if you put a lot of different weird chords in your song, that your song is automatically going to sound cooler. It almost for sure means that your song is going to be less predictable and less appealing to a general audience. Cool. We talked about the melodic patterns, how it's mostly stepwise, despite the fact that they do have a bunch of chords and a bunch of weird chords. And that, by weird, I just mean they go outside of the scale a lot. They don't stay in the key of F. We have got that major 2 and the major 3, the G major and the A major that you normally wouldn't find in a song that is in the key of F. The vocal range is just barely outside of the normal range. By normal, I mean the normal vocal range for a person, not the normal range that songs are generally written in. Especially more recently, I don't know if it's more recently, I've noticed recently that a lot of songs kind of go outside of the range of, like, pick some dude off the street and find out that guy's range. And most songs would be just a little bit higher than what he could comfortably sing. So this one fits that. So in that way, it's totally normal, but it is outside of the range of what a normal person could sing comfortably. Cool. And then we did the rhythm, the pattern, that thing of having 1 down and then 3 up, or 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Cool. That's that. I guess that means it's time for your questions. And we also have some videos today of some people who have covered the song to give you some other ideas. But let's see what we've got. Twitch and YouTube, go ahead and send in your questions if you have any right now. I will make sure we get to those. Question number 1 from the site. Can you show us that gospel thing you did from yesterday? I don't know. It was an accident. I don't remember what it was. It was most likely something that we'll be talking about tomorrow with... what was it? I think I did that, which is just a diminished chord, which is, again, something we'll talk about in reharmonization. I don't remember. Hang on. This is your fault. Hang on. Next question. These links in the PDF don't work. Yes, I know. The video links don't work in the PDF. I'm hoping to fix that by our next cover, that we just added them in, like, between yesterday and today. So the little icon is there. The videos are not there. Sorry. What kind of piano are you playing? It's a Young Chang, or whatever I can find in front of me that has keys on it. Before I was playing a Yamaha U3, and this is a Young Chang something rather. Okay. On the part where you're demonstrating the rhythm, it seemed like you were playing a downbeat and then 4 more beats. Can you expand on that a little? So the I meant to only be playing 3 on the top. So 1 and 2 and. So it should have just been that. 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. And so the other one would be 3 and 4 and 1 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and So it should have just been 4, but it's entirely possible that I screwed up when I was playing that. So, yeah, I don't know. Okay, next. Hang on. Do more gospel. Okay. Well, first, check. No, fine. Okay, I'll play. All right, all the way through. I know you're gonna ask for this. Hang on. There you go. Maybe I'll work up something and play it for reals. Anyway, here's some other people who did work up something and actually have something to show you. So check these guys out on YouTube. And if you have any last questions, then send them in right now. All right, so go check out those people on YouTube. You guys are funny. So the lesson is over. Everything else is stuff we're going to be doing tomorrow. So questions about the reharmonization and gospel stuff. So real quick, There's nothing else, unless you ask a question about what I was doing. There's nothing else of value here. Yesterday lesson over. Okay, so then the things right here. So those things I was doing are just the 2 chord to the 1 chord. I think everything else was just a diminished chord. There's a half step below whatever chord I was going to. So if I'm going to an E or a D minor, then I'm playing like a A7 flat 9, or you could just think of it as a C sharp diminished to the D minor. So that explains most of it. This is just 2-1, 2-1, 2-1, 2-1, 2-1. And yes, I was in 6/8. That's a 2 to a 1. This is that thing, that diminished thing. Some stuff in there would be there too. So okay, I think that's really it. Okay, you guys are funny. Okay, yeah. So no, I'll tell you later. Till next time. I love you. Thanks for the questions. And yes. If you ask me a question, yeah, I'll get back to you privately on that stuff. To the rest of you, good luck. I'll see you tomorrow where we can go through all that stuff. What are the chords and all that? All the stuff that you guys want to do is all tomorrow. And I'm all too distractible and want to play that for you now. But we'll get to it. There's a place and a time for all of that. It's tomorrow. Good luck. Have fun.